I'm so glad that you could pop in today. If you're new to my channel, my name is Angela, and I'm the Inquisitive Farmwife, and I'm so glad that you're here. I do all sorts of things on my channel, so I encourage you to go ahead and subscribe so that you can check out what other kind of stuff I like to do. But today, I'm going to be canning. It's a super special video today because I am part of a really neat collaboration called Canuary. If you are not familiar with that, then I encourage you to go over to our host page, Leisa, over at Sutton's Days. She's been doing this for quite a while and she's got a lot of great videos. But this year she has put together a list of about 15 different YouTube channels that are going to be bringing you all sorts of new and exciting recipes to can all month long. So this year our sponsor is again 4 Jars, and if you're not familiar with who they are, check out the link below. And while you're there, if you decide to make a purchase, make sure you use my special discount code Farmwife10 to save yourself a little bit of money, because every bit counts, doesn't it? 4 Jars is going to be giving away a canner. Yes, they have a canner now. I am so excited about this. They're also going to give away 200 lids, a timer with towels, and then Leisa over at Sutton's Days is going to give away 2 different canners. One is your pressure canner from 4 Jars, and she's also going to be giving away a steam canner. That is so great and so generous. So how do you win them? Watch our videos. It's already winning by watching and learning something new, but when you make comments on those videos, you have the opportunity to win those great prizes. I'm down to my last jar of chicken, friends, so it was time to get some more on my shelf. And although I like just plain chicken, I have decided that adding seasonings and flavorings really amp up the flavor profile of my dishes that I make. And I love to cook from my pantry, and if I can do something now to save me time later, that's what I'm gonna do. So let's get busy, guys. Here on the counter behind me, I have my chicken, my jars, my seasonings, and here in my hands, I have my recipe cards that I made myself, and I'll share these recipes with you. I was really lucky. I got this chicken on sale. Normally it's like almost $5 a pound around here, and it was a buy 2 get 3, so I got it for under $2 a pound, which was a stellar deal, and I was excited about that. So after pulling back my hair, washing my hands, I grabbed myself a clean cutting board, and I made sure I got myself a sharp knife. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn over these jars. We're going to want about 1 1/4 inch headspace. We're going to be raw packing today. I just like to go ahead and trim off any of the fat. I don't like to have that in there. We're just going to slice this, and when we cube it, we want it to be approximately the same size piece. So I think we're working with maybe a 1/2 inch cube here. We're probably going to get about, I don't know, these are pretty good size chicken breast, maybe 1 1/2 per jar. You could cut them and put them in a bowl and then put them in your jars, but I think it saves a little bit of time to just go ahead and do it like this. You notice I'm taking my left hand and I'm touching the meat, and then I'm using the right hand to touch the handle of my knife and grab the jars. You just want to place them down in there. You do not want to you don't want to push them too tight, but I think that's going to be about right, but we'll check them here in a little bit. I'll grab myself another jar, and we're just going to keep filling these up until we've gotten through all the chicken here. I grew up doing the cooked method of chicken, and so it was a little more time consuming on the front end to do that, and then I later came across doing the raw pack, and it has been a lifesaver for me. It does look prettier in the jars if you go ahead and cook your meat first, but it is worth the time savings to me to have the ugly chicken or the ugly beef or whatever. You can use these spice blends that I'm going to show you for any meat. I just needed chicken today. You know, canning meat to me is one of the easiest things you can do. You could also use bone-in chicken for this. I actually have a video on how I made chicken legs, and they were unseasoned, and I have used those a lot to make soups and casseroles, or if I just want to heat up a little bit of meat for me. But I'm excited just to get some chicken on the shelf. I don't want to forget what's in the jar, so we're going to go ahead and label these. Greek chicken. And then I want to make 2 of those, and I'll make 2 taco chickens. And we're going to make Asian and just poultry seasoned. Which I know, poultry chicken sounds weird, but I think I'm going to do 3 of them just plain. And so I'll put just chicken on there. Like this. So behind me I have the lids coming to a simmer. I've gone along and I have put a thin layer of oil on both this side and the rim because I'm using an All-American today. You to read your manuals, but I will measure. It says 2 to 3 inches, and you can see I have a 2 and a 3-inch mark. There we go. And I'm going to want to fill probably close to the 3-inch mark just to be safe. And we are good. We are almost at 3 inches. We're boiling. Time to take this off. And I'll put it here for now. This is our rack that we need for canning. Make sure you get that in there. Because I have hard water here, I'm going to also put a splash of vinegar in just to kind of keep the jars a little bit cleaner looking. The first jars we're going to fill, I'm just going to put salt in. So we want to make sure, you can see I've got my 1 1/4. So here, this is 1 inch. We're not touching, we're good, but I'm going to go down just a little bit further. Perfect. So I check to make sure that we've got the right headspace on all my jars. And then now I'm going to add about a 1/2 teaspoon of salt to these first 3. We like salt in our canning. Salt is optional. You can use a kosher salt, but I do use canning salt when I can. Next, I'm going to take vinegar, and we're going to clean that rim off. We were very careful, but you never know. Might have got a piece of salt on there. And then I need to make sure I grab the right lid to put on here. Okay. Grab a ring, fingertip tight. What that means to be fingertip tight is you go ahead and you just stop when it just starts to tighten. You know, if you would tighten on down, you'd have to just back that right back up. So I just go till it stops, just barely. And we can go ahead and place these in our canner. Cold chicken, cold pot, cold water. Next, we're going to do 2 that are the poultry seasoning. So I'll grab 2 jars, and to each jar, I'm going to add 2 teaspoons of ground thyme. These are 1/2 teaspoons, so I'll be adding 4. Okay, And then I want to add some rosemary. We'll put a teaspoon each in each of those jars. I like working with rosemary. I like the flavor that it gives, but I will tell you, I don't know that I'm a big fan of the little sticks. I do usually kind of pick that part out a little bit later. I'm going to add 1/4 of a teaspoon of oregano. I'm going to use 1/8 of a teaspoon of pepper. A lot of people would probably use 1/4 of a teaspoon in this, but I am very, very cautious when it comes to pepper. So we're just going to put 1/8 of a teaspoon in here. And then I don't have celery seeds, so we're going to be using celery salt. If you want to use celery seed, go ahead and put 1/8 of a teaspoon of that and 1/2 a teaspoon of salt. So instead, I'm going to put 1/8 plus 1/2. And we don't have to add any water. We don't have to debubble. This is going to be perfectly fine like this, because when this gets done, it's going to make its own amazing juice. And this is going to make the best chicken soup starter you've ever had. And into the canner these go. I'm so excited about this next one. We're going to do taco seasoning. And the recipes I have here are made for a pint. A pint is more than enough for my needs, but you could definitely do this in quarts. You would just process it at a longer time. So we need 2 teaspoons of chili powder. I am so excited about this for taco salads. We're going to add 1/2 a teaspoon of garlic powder, 1/2 a teaspoon of onion powder, 1/2 a teaspoon of oregano, 1/2 a teaspoon of paprika. And when I did this jar, I left a little strip here. It worked out really great to be able to evenly measure things off. I just thought that was the neatest thing, how that turned out like that. I need 1/4 a teaspoon of cumin. And we'll do 1/4 a teaspoon of salt. Now, you can adjust these to whatever your flavor profile is. You don't have to use the measurements that I used. I also am going to use a very light 1/4 of a teaspoon. Somewhere between 1/8 and 1/4 probably of the pepper. Another set ready for the canner. Our next one is Asian seasoning. I'm so excited about this for stir fry. How fast and easy it's going to be to get this whipped up a meal really fast. First thing we're going to add is some curry powder. I haven't opened this one yet, so we need 2 full teaspoons. Oh, I love curry. This could make a quick curry chicken. Oh, so very excited to have this on my pantry shelf. We're going to need some garlic powder. Make sure that you research to make sure it's safe on what seasonings you use. You've got to be careful if you use fresh herbs, because those have the acidity levels that need to be checked. Okay, so we need 1/2 teaspoon each onion. Ground ginger, 1 full teaspoon. Oh, ginger is one of my favorites. I can have it in meals. I can have it in drinks. I love like ginger kombucha. Salt, about 1/2 a teaspoon. And we're going to go ahead and put about 1/4 of a teaspoon of pepper into the canner. Now we have the last seasoning of the evening, and I am so excited. This one I actually have in mind for my son. It's a Greek seasoning. He loves lemon pepper, and I would love to just put lemon pepper in here, but so many times there are anti-caking agents in your seasoning blends, and so you have to be really cautious about that and not just put anything in these jars. That's why we're making our own seasoning blends today. We're going to start out with a tablespoon of lemon juice. We're going to add 1/2 a teaspoon of oregano, 1/4 a teaspoon of thyme. We're going to add a teaspoon of Dijon mustard. calls for a half a teaspoon of pepper because it's supposed to be very peppery. I'm just going to do a rounded 1/4. Half teaspoon of garlic powder. And just a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Now, you notice we didn't debubble any of the others, but because this has the lemon juice in it, I feel we should. And the canner's about full. I had accidentally put the wrong lid on one of the regular chickens, so I had to pull those out. So we have all of our flavored chickens on this bottom rack. We're going to add a second rack now so that we can process all of our chicken at the same time. Now, we just need to put on our lid. There's a certain way you have to get it. And I have to line up my arrow. And with the All-American, it's just a little different than my Presto is. So I try to give myself plenty of time to make sure I do it right. And you just want to lightly pin down these tabs. And you do that to make sure that you go down evenly. And you kind of want to look and make sure that the gap is even all the way around. And it is not. So I want to loosen that up a little bit so I can fix that. We've already talked about how I already put a little bit of oil on here. I checked the vent hole. Now I want to look again and see if all the way around it is level. Okay, now it's safe. We are ready to go ahead and turn this on. It's going to take us just a little bit to warm it up because remember, we're not hot packing. We are raw packing today. So we're going to give this time so that it can start venting out the vent hole. We'll let that vent for 10 minutes. And I've got my gauge we'll put on after that, and we're going to pressure can it for 75 minutes. I'll be back and show you. Okay, you should be able to kind of hear it venting now. I have my stove turned up, so I'm going to turn it down just a little bit. And then I'm going to put this on 10 because I am under 1,000 feet. Make sure that you're reading your manual, guys. All of these are very, very similar canners, pressure canners, but it's always important to keep your books. And if you bought one used, that's okay. You can get online and do a little research and make sure that you read about and find out about your elevation and all those things. Because just in my neighboring town, it's a different elevation of where it is right here in my house. So it's important to know that. And mine needs to be at 10. So there it goes. I'm just going to put that on there. And I also have a pressure gauge here that I can kind of keep an eye on. But I'll bring you back here in a little bit. And this is going to start kind of singing and dancing for us. And it'll let us know. And that's the greatest thing about having a jiggler type of stopper. Because I have, with my Presto, it comes with this type. And although I usually use it, I do enjoy this is like a little tattletale for me. It'll start jiggling and you can walk away for a little bit. The other one you feel a little more nervous and you can't. And this one, once you get that rhythm down, you can walk away and step and, you know, do some dishes and laundry and all the other household things that we need to get done during the day. But we're going to wait for that to start dancing and I'll come back and we'll talk again. Okay. It's time. She's starting to spit. You hear that? She's dancing. She's jiggling. So we have reached our 10 pounds of pressure. And she's telling me this, but I know my stove. I have to turn it down a little bit at this point. Because it needs to spitter and spin and then see how it stops. And then it'll come back. And time to shaky, jiggle, and then we'll stop. And we want it to do that. You don't want a constant jiggle. You don't want it spitting and spinning the whole time. It has to, you know, kind of do it in between. And there is a gauge. I'll bring you in. There is a dial gauge that you can kind of watch just to make yourself feel better. It will be a little bit over the 10, but yeah. Now it has started jiggling. We can set our 75-minute timer because we did pints. Remember, it's 90 minutes for quarts, and in 75 minutes I can shut this off and we'll let it cool. Timer has gone off, so I'm going to shut off the heat, and that's all I'm going to do. This is a really heavy canner. Some people will sometimes lift it off of the burner, especially since I'm using electric. The coil will hold the heat, so it's just going to take longer for this to come down. But you have to let the pressure come to a complete zero before you take this off and even consider thinking about taking off the lid. Okay, we're done. And just like when we put the lid on, I'm going to loosen opposite sides. And remember, righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. Okay, and now I'm just going to kind of twist the lid a little bit, and you can see a little of the steam came out. I like to just kind of let this sit with the lid kind of cockeyed for about 5 to 10 minutes before I start removing jars. Okay, so when you open this up, you really never know exactly what's happened. I'm hoping no siphoning, but you know what? It happens even to the best of us. Oh, I smell herbs. I don't think we have siphoning. Come peek. Come take a look. A little bit of bleeding with the writing, but I expected as much. But if you look down on the side, I don't see any broth. I don't think we had siphoning. All right, let's take them out. Careful, careful. Here is a chicken with the poultry seasoning. Next, I believe we did the taco. Again, the seasonings made the chicken quite dark. Our Asian chicken, you can see the curry has a yellow look to it. And the Greek chicken, doesn't that look lovely? And here they all are. I'll let this set for a good 12 to 24 hours, and then I'm going to come back in and check on it. See that liquid? How it really filled up the jars? That's all broth, guys. This is great stuff. We did it! Now I want to go ahead and dump this water out because it has vinegar in it. I don't want it to do anything to damage my pot, so I try to always rinse it out right away and clean it up and put it on the rack to dry. And then tomorrow when I come back down to check on my chicken, I'll put my canner away until the next time I'm ready to use it. This is video 1 of 2 for the Canuary collaboration. So guys, stick around. I'll be back again and we'll see you then. Bye for now.